Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Lanora Wyatt. Hey, Lanora, how are you?
Hi, Cesar. I am amazing. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just got back in town. I was traveling, and so I'm trying to get back to the time change. Other than that, it's all good, you know? You can relate to that with the time difference.
Yes, I understand. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So let me give the listeners and viewers a little bit about your background, and we can dive into your history and who you are, okay? Lanora is the CEO of Fitness by Nori, a former member of the U.S. Navy and Army, a human resource professional, and a certified master trainer through the International Sports Science Association. She decided to become a personal fitness trainer to help others get past the mind trash related to health and fitness and just to make a decision. She shares her story of transformation through the health and fitness in hopes to encourage others to choose themselves, stop putting everyone and everything before them and choose themselves first. Man, that's amazing. That is amazing. So, so I definitely want to know more about that, but I want to ask you, take me back. Like, where are you originally from and how was your upbringing?
So I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, born and raised in the southern sector of Dallas in the Oak Cliff area. I was legally adopted by my maternal grandmother, and I grew up feeling like I wasn't wanted by my mother and my father. So my mother was 14 years old. She had me when she was 15. My father was non-existent. I did not know him at all until I turned 21. And so for years, I just felt neglected and just not wanted. And so I always felt like I had to prove myself, and, you know, for people to want to be with me or be around me or be friends, you know, I always felt like I needed to prove myself. I always felt like I had to be competitive and things of that nature. And so I grew up like that and always wanting to present myself, of course, with my grandmother raising me. I was like, I want to have the best grades and I want to do things right and all of this. And it's just this so crazy, just needing affirmation and things like that. And when you grow up not having those things at a foundational level, it carries over into your adult life and it makes things a little bit more difficult until you get some help. So
wow. I gotta tell you, just thinking about that, there's, and I don't know how it was for you, maybe you can elaborate more on that. Sometimes people, when they're feeling lost and or feel like they're not accepted by their immediate family, people tend to fall into negative influences and or negative aspects in life, whether it's drugs, whether it's gangs, whether it's any of that flavor, right? And sometimes people tend to take the incorrect path down life. Did you ever experience any of that, or was it more just not acceptance, and did that even get you into depression or anything to that nature, right?
Right. So you are correct. A lot of times it's one extreme or the other.
Right.
And so when I was feeling the neglect and stuff like that, I did find myself trying to go towards the streets part of things, and and the drug, of course, drugs was like huge at that particular time.
Yeah.
That's when like the drugs were dropped in the brown and black communities, and it started to separate the families and things of that nature. And the public assistance was there, but the fathers and stuff couldn't be in the home, or they couldn't get the assistance. And so just the separation of the homes and stuff like that was at that particular immediate time, right? So it's just trying to deal with all of that at the same time. And I did kind of go towards the streets a little bit, because I had an older cousin and he was like out there, and so I kind of wanted to hang with him, and so I hung with a lot of the guys. And so I kind of feel like that's why I'm a little bit more respected, like, because he kind of taught me how to carry myself as a woman in the whole, big room of guys or whatever. And so, yes, I kind of went that away a little bit, but, I didn't get in any type of trouble or whatever. He really kind of kept me protected. And then when I saw the avenue in which he was going, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that anyways. Right. So, again, I knew my mother and she was on drugs and stuff like that. And like I said, it's either one extreme or the other. And I saw all of that and I decided against that. And so I went directly the other way. And I went to school and military and things of that nature, and just kind of got out of there.
Yeah. Talking to a couple other people too, sometimes because of that same circumstances, the neglect or whatever is going on in the outer world of their own life, they tend to use the escape route of going to the military or going to the armed forces as a escape clause, right? It's to be able to escape the reality. Yet at that point, it becomes, probably a purpose driven, right? Was that something similar to you, or like, I need to escape from this particular environment and see if I can do something out here, and then whenever I come back, is going to be a little bit different?
Absolutely. And I remember reaching out to my recruiter, because like I said, my grandmother is who raised me. And I remember she had gone to the hearing aid place, and it was right next to the recruiting office. And so my grandmother, she talks to everybody. She did not meet a stranger. And so it was a recruiter standing outside. And when she got out of the car, I was sitting in the car or whatever. She got out of the car and she said, "What do I need to do to join?" And he said something like, "Run a couple of blocks and do some push-ups or something." And she was like, "Oh, baby, I can't do that, but she can." And she pointed at me. And so when he walked over to the car, I just let the window up, right? And he was like, "No, just have a conversation with me." And so I just kind of chit-chatted with him for a second, and he gave me his card, and that was it. And so when life started to transition, I went to college for one semester as soon as I graduated. And of course, because I was so sheltered by my grandmother because of what had happened to me as far as being abused and stuff in the past, I just kind of hopped out there and I wanted to go party and, wasn't going to class. And I was just like, I'm paying for my college, and I'm really wasting money. So I really need to do something. And so I came back home and my grandmother was like, "You need to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You're going to throw your life away." And so I remember calling that recruiter. I had that car. I still had that car. And I remember calling him and I said, "I need to go today. If I don't go today, I'm not going." And he came and picked me up. Wow. He came and picked me up. I stayed on the MEPS floor all day, meaning I took my ASVAB test. I took the physical, the medical. I did everything all in one day. And I spent the night at the hotel, because they put you up at the hotel if you stay late. I spent the night at the hotel and I flew out the next morning to Orlando, Florida.
Wow. Yep. Wow. That's amazing. And one thing you talked about too is, when you're dealing with a lot of baggage, I guess, whether it's, feeling neglected, being abused and all those different things, right? Mentally, physically, whatever that might be as a kid, you talked about if you don't, work on those things and you don't get some help, then you're going to carry that into your adult life. And so that's something that at which point in your life did you say, I got to start working on those things? Because obviously, as you know, the unconscious mind, specifically when you go through things between the ages of 1 and 7, you're absorbing everything, right? And if you don't work on any of those things, right, you're gonna end up carrying that into your adult life without even knowing, without even thinking about it. Yet the actions or the things that you're doing is reflected on that inner child. And so at which point did you realize that there were things you needed to work on yourself? Was it at the military or after you came out of that services, or?
So from the age, and it is, it's ironic that you would say from that age 1 to 7. From age 1 to 7, I, was with my mom, but I actually lived with my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And so that love and everything was there or whatever. And my mom was in and out of the home. Well, when I turned like towards the end of 9, mm-hmm. that's when my mom took us, and we didn't really get to see my grandmother and the other side of my family. And that's when all of the abuse mm-hmm. was being done from the age of 9 to 12. Wow. And so when my grandmother adopted me at 12 years old, I still had some of those foundational principles at those early ages. And I knew that something was not right, mm-hmm. And so I ended up getting help when I thought about being married. I was like, I want to get married someday. I want to have kids, in which that has totally changed, in which I realized that it really didn't change. I was saying something different because I wanted to give something different, but we'll talk about that anyways. Yeah, but yeah. I realized that I wanted to get married, and I said, I really need to be a whole person and take a whole person into a marriage instead of being this broken, insecure person that doubts herself, and things of that nature. And so, I got out of the military because my grandmother was sick. The end of my tour was near. And so I went ahead and I got out. I came home to take care of her. I started working for Frito-Lay. I was with Frito-Lay for almost 11 years, but the first 5 years that I was with Frito-Lay, and that's when my grandmother passed. I was home for 5 years and she passed. And so from there, I, tried to live my life. And now I got something added to all of that stress and stuff. Now my grandmother is gone, right? My guardian angel. So I'm like, I need help. And so I started going to counseling when I was around. I started going to counseling, of course, when I was 12. But to actually dig into all of this stuff, I was around about 27-ish. I was a member of the Potter's House. That's my church. A member of the Potter's House of Dallas. And I started receiving counseling there. So yep.
Wow. And so you said that your dad came into the picture when you were about 21. How is now the relationship between you and your dad and your mom, or how is that dynamics?
So I still do not have a relationship with my biological father. I do know who he is. Gotcha. I reached out to him and found him, and I just kind of feel like I've done so much to try to establish a relationship and things like that. I kept in touch with his mother, which, was my grandmother, until she passed. And it was like, once she passed, it's just nothing there. I have a relationship with my 2 brothers and my sister that's by him. But he just, I just don't feel like, as a product of your pleasure, I don't feel like I need to continue to consume myself with trying to establish a relationship with somebody that just doesn't seem to want a relationship with me. Now, my mother, I still see her, from time to time, but I don't really have a relationship with her in that regard either, because, she's just kind of consumed with the streets right now. Yeah. And so, I just have to move on and just do the bigger things and, those positive things.
Right. And you got to work on yourself and focus on yourself, which is what you're doing. And I was listening to, I forget who it was. And somebody said, when somebody's willing to walk away from your life, let them walk. Right. And you just got to
let Bishop T.D. Jakes.
There you go. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. That's who he was. And I'm like, it's so true. And so the one thing that we have that is very limited, in my opinion, there's quite a few things. And one of them is time. And it's
time.
And so we cannot allow that to waste. And very similar to you, the difference is that I never met my biological father. Don't even know his name. I don't even know anything about him. And at this point, it's like, I don't even want to bother looking for him because he never looked for me. and again, I don't know his name or anything to that nature. Again, though, is that time? Do I want to spend that time searching and looking? Probably not, and definitely not, right? So.
Right. Well, the difference is like for me, and of course it's a little bit different for, you know, I don't want to make it seem like there's a, you know, but there is a difference between women and men because, you know, with girls, you know, your dad is the one that teaches you that love and stuff from the perspective of going into a marriage and things like that. And so it was like, well, and I don't really look a whole lot like my mom. So I was like, well, where do I get this? You know, my mom is beautiful, but I don't look a whole lot like her. And so, you know, as it relates to my other two sisters, I can pick them up, you know, I can pick her up in their features or whatever. But with me, I'm like, where did this come from? And when I met my dad, I was just like, wow. Like, this is crazy. Like, he looks like a really cute, you know, he looks like a cute guy. Like he said, you know, I'm a girl version of him. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So I wanted to know, like, where did I come from? Like, where did I get these big, beautiful white teeth? Where did I get this, you know, like, where did I get these features and stuff from? So it's like different things that I was like looking for, and I was able to find it in that other side, but the relationship itself is just not there, you know. And when I talked to him about the relationship with he and my mom, I understand now why he, you know, felt the way that he felt. And I understand why she felt the way that she felt. And she treated me the way she did, you know. So just, you know, sometimes just trying to get an understanding. And that's what the word tells us, you know, in all that getting, get an understanding. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to figure it out, you know.
Yeah, no.
But you can't do it by yourself. And sometimes counseling is needed. So
yeah, no, definitely. So let's talk about, when did the idea of fitness come into play? How did that come into play? Definitely, I know that for you is more than just fitness. It is more of just getting tone and, you know, getting all these muscles. I know it's more than that. How did that come about, right? And where did that idea grew?
Oh my God. So if you can't tell right now that hurt is the weaving and underlining pattern through my entire life. Right?
Yeah.
And so fitness came about through another level of hurt and pain and depression. And so what happened was in 2016, I went through a divorce, and I did not want the divorce. I mean, I don't know anybody that gets married to get a divorce.
Right, exactly.
I don't.
Right. I wouldn't either. I'm like, I'm here to stay. Like, I don't even think about, in about a year, you know, I think we should get divorced. Like, yeah, right.
Yes, I remember a song that my grandmother and them used to play. It was an old like blues song or whatever, and it says it's cheaper to keep her, right? So when you're going through all these courts and attorneys and stuff, it's just a bunch of money. And so one thing that I can say is that my ex-husband and I, we actually sat down and we talked about it, and we actually kind of mediated our own divorce. Like we never really had like a volatile relationship where we would fight and argue and all of that. We never had that anyway. We were really, really good friends. He was an amazing guy. So of course, that's one of the reasons why I didn't want a divorce. Like it was amazing. But that time came, and it was something, you know, that happened or whatever. And he felt like he couldn't forgive himself or whatever. And he wanted a divorce. He's the one that said he wanted the divorce. And so it was so hurtful that, you know, I continued. I guess I didn't hear that at the time he said it. And I wanted to keep fighting because that's what, you know, that's what I was taught to do as far as being so resilient and, you know, and just trying to push forward. And so I wanted to fight. And so 3 years later, I just was like, it just doesn't seem like you want to be here, just release me. And he was like, what does that mean? And I was just like, just divorce me. And he was like, okay. And I mean,
wow.
I bawled. I lost it. I mean, I was just crying because I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. And I still didn't understand for a couple of years after the divorce. And so I was, went through this whole little depressive state. And I was just, we eat our emotions and eat our feelings away.
Right.
And so I'm only 5'1". I had gotten up to almost 200 pounds. At my highest, I was 198 pounds. And so I remember seeing this video where my sister showed me the video and she was recording me from behind it, and I was waddling and like a duck, right? And I was just so heavy. And I had on all black, you know, black is slimming, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I was like, I really need to do something about this. And my girlfriend and I were sitting at Papa Do's, and we were eating. And ironically, we're always eating when we're going through something.
Yeah, right.
And she, this guy came over that she knew, and she introduced me to him. He was the CEO of this fitness class, and he, you know, started talking to me or whatever. And he said, she said, girl, you don't want to go to that class. That class is going to kill you, you know, this and that. And I was like, girl, that class ain't nothing. I can do this and that. So he was like, give me your number. I gave him my number, and she and I just kept talking, and he tapped me on my shoulder and was like, did you get that? Did you get what I just sent you? And I was like, no, I'm talking, like, what are you? He was like, I need you to fill out that waiver if you're coming to class tomorrow. And I'm like, oh God, we got to fill out a waiver. Like, you're going to kill me, you know?
Right, exactly.
And so I was like, okay. So I filled out the waiver, and that person happened to be none other than Traylon Curry, which was my trainer for 2 years. He is the CEO and owner of Trap Fitness with Pretty Girls. And this workout class, I went to it. It was brutal. Yep. Okay. I thought I was going to die. I did. But because I'm so mentally resilient, I was like, no, I want to go back because I want to see if I can do this. I want to see if I can do that. And I ended up becoming, you know, one of the people that represented the brand and everything, and just worked out, ended up getting certified as a trainer, and started my fitness journey from there. Fitness by Nori was, you know, came into play November the 21st, 2020, right in the midst of a pandemic, because health and fitness is what keeps you healthy from the pandemic. You know, if you keep your physical fitness up and you keep your health up and stuff, then you won't be so quick to be hit with that. And so I ended up going to the class. I lost 41 pounds in the first 4 months. I ended up training with Traylon for 2 years. Yes, it's beyond the vanity and the muscles and all of that. It helped me become mentally strong. And like I said, I've always been mentally resilient, but just dealing with a lot of things, because when you're working out, it's mentally stressful. You know, it stresses the body. I had a client the other day that started crying when she was working out because she was like, I just can't get this move. And I was like, yes, you can. You just did it 5 times. She was like, but the last 5 is really hard. And that's when you have to dig in. That's when you have to climb over that mental stump that's in your mind. And you have to say, no, I got this, you know? And so those are the type of things that I teach or whatever. When I'm training someone, it's mental. It starts in your mind first. Understand this, the body can do far more than you ever thought it could do. You know, one of the people that I listen to is David Goggins. You know, he is an animal. And so I'm, you know, and he was military and stuff too. And I do understand that that's something that the military does, you know, instill in you. But think about this. If you don't have that, you just don't have that. And it takes a lot of work for someone to teach you that. You have to reach down and get that animal that's inside of you. And that's how I got my fitness name, Miss Butterfly Beast, because I'm pretty as a butterfly, but I train like a beast.
I love it. I love that. Oh, wow. No, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely David Goggins' book. I mean, I read it a couple of times and it's pretty awesome. And I do a lot of reading and listen to a lot of different people. And so it's just, you know, you mentioned a lot of different things that I'm like, wow. And I've talked to and interviewed a couple of people that are in the fitness, and it is about that. It's not about I mean, yeah, you're going to get toned, you're going to get all that stuff. That's kind of like the aftermath, right? The most important thing here. Exactly. The most important thing is that mental, and you talk about that mental resilience. I want to take it back a little bit though, because you talk about a few things that I believe are so important, right? And kind of like being in that relationship with your ex. And you said, well, I want to stay here. I want to stay in this relationship. And you ended up staying 3 years more than maybe what you should have. And finally said, you know what? I realized that just let's go our separate ways. I want to know if there was a lesson there that looking back now, you realize that, because I feel like sometimes we as people, are afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of being uncomfortable, and therefore we want to stay comfortable even if the situation is, you know, not welcoming, right? And I think that's kind of probably what was taking place. You were afraid of being alone. You were afraid of not being with him. You were afraid of what's going to happen, that uncomfortable aspect of that. So I want to know if there was any lessons or something that you can relate back to that experience.
Absolutely. I mean, truly, I was afraid of the unknown. I never thought that I would be dating at this particular juncture in my life. And I never wanted to, right? And now that I'm back out here, I see that I was absolutely correct. This is not something that I want to do. So yes, the lesson that I actually learned is a lot of times we just need to make a decision. I was in limbo. I loved my husband. I mean, he was an amazing person or whatever. But like Bishop said, if someone can walk away from you, you let them go. If this is one of the, I'm going to say two things. One lesson was listen to what people are telling you. He said 3 years ago that he wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I wasted 3 years of my time, 3 years of my life, because he was still moving on with his life. I was the one stuck in limbo. Okay, so that's one. Listen, pay attention to what people are telling you. Look at the red flags and stuff like that. Just pay attention. Number two, for me, it's you just need to make a decision. Make a decision. If that decision is yes, then you can do what you need to do and write the rules and everything for the yes. If that decision is a no, you can do what you need to do and write the rules for the decision that's a no. It's make a decision and move forward. You know, don't get stuck. The Bible puts it like this: don't let the grass grow under your feet. Shake off the dust, right? Shake the dust from your feet. That's what it says. So don't let the grass grow under your feet. Don't stay stagnant. We have to keep evolving. You keep evolving or you become extinct. You know, you have to keep moving. So those were two lessons for me. If I had to pick out another one, it would be basically do what it is that you want to do. Do what you want to do. You know, this is the life that you were given, that God gave you, and you are a gift to this earth. All of us have something to contribute, have something to give. So dig down inside of you, figure out what that is, hone in on it, work it so you can present it to the world. And that's what fitness ended up being for me.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. One thing that reminds me is making the decision. And a lot of times people believe that making the decision, I believe, well, maybe more me, I believe that making the decision is the hardest thing to do. People believe that the aftermath is the hardest thing. It's not really that. It's the opposite way. The aftermath is going to come. The reason why people don't want to make the decision is because there's a part of that is self-commitment. You're committed to doing something and going through the hurt, going through the trenches, going through whatever that might be. And so therefore, like, you know what, I'm going to hold off on this decision. And I know for a fact I've done that, where I wanted to stay stuck and I'm like, I can fix this, I can do this, I can do whatever it is. And I wouldn't make the decision and finally make the decision. Now I'm going through the hurt. Now I'm going through the pain. I'm going through all of that. Yet I was going through that while I was also in limbo, right? And so I love what you said. You have to make the decision. And I always tell people that the choices and the decisions that we make today will determine the quality of life that we have tomorrow.
That's it.
Right? And so if you feel like you made a decision that is probably not giving you the outcome or the results that you want, then you have to pivot that decision and do something immediately and change it immediately, right? Yet keep going and keep moving. Don't get stuck on that moment or decision for a long time.
And that's one of the things that I say. I do a lot of lives or whatever on Facebook and Instagram. And one of the things that I say is you need to move quickly, because what you say at the beginning, time, we cannot get back time. One of the reasons why we have a problem with making a decision is, one, I found, is self-doubt. you know, and you're feeling like you're not enough. You know, I can't do it. I don't have what I need in order to do it. When in fact, you have everything that you need in order to do what you have to do. And it would not have been placed inside of you if it wasn't meant for you to do it. You know, I tell, when I speak, I tell people to step out there. Once you step out there, you will get the information that you're needing, and then you keep moving. If it's something bad, then one of my favorite words that you just used, and my business strategists use it all the time, is pivot. Once you get that information, if it's not where you're trying to go, pivot, make the adjustment and move on. You know, I don't believe that, and I'm a woman of faith. I'm sure you can hear that by now. I've quoted some Bible scriptures and stuff like that, but I don't believe that God would have put you here and started you to doing the things that you're doing if he did not give you what you needed in order to do it. We have so much stuff packed inside of us, we don't even know it's there, you know, until something happens and it brings it out of us. It flows out of us. And you're like, where did that come from? I didn't know I had that. Because we have everything that we need in order to do what we're needing to do. But we doubt ourselves so much because we fear the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen, you know, and things of that nature. So I totally agree with you.
Right. And the other thing that you mentioned, and which I think is pretty interesting, is the fact that you mentioned that again, going through all of this, right? You got to make the decision. You got to go through it. So people might ask, well, it hurts. I don't want to let that relationship go. I don't want to go through the pain of whatever. It hurts. Well, very similar to fitness, it hurts to do those extra push-ups. It hurts to do whatever, right? How do you deal with that? How do you deal? And I think it goes back to the mental aspect, but I want to know, how do you deal, or how do you tell people, we're like, I cannot move away from this relationship. I've been in this invested for 10, 20 years. I've done all I can. Like, I cannot, it hurts. So how do you move away from that?
So you said a couple of things. I know for me, I always dig in because I don't want to feel like I've lost. Right. And so I always just go to the end. I will fight to the end. I will fight until I have nothing else left. So when I am able to walk away, I make that decision that that's it, then I've done everything that I can do. I know I've done everything that was possible in my power to do. And so it makes it a little bit easier. But one thing that I said to myself was, before I had the conversation with him, I said, do you want to continue to hurt every day? Or do you want to continue to hurt every day? Or do you want to hurt for a period of time? And once that hurt is over, then you can move on. And I said,
now you're asking that to yourself or to the other person?
That's what I'm asking myself. Right.
Okay, got you.
And I'm like, I don't want to hurt every single day. And I don't know how long this hurt is going to be. But I know if I disconnect myself from that pain, then I can deal with what's hurting me currently, and I can move past that, you know? And so that's what made me have the conversation with him. So when we're working out, that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, how bad do you want this? Look, when I do my consultations, I let them know off the top, this is going to hurt. And I have pictures and posters and stuff, and they're like, I want to look like that. And I said, I can tell you what I went through to get that. And then you make the decision if you want that, because it's gonna hurt. And I explained the muscle building process to them in an analogy of like ripping a piece of paper. And I say, every time you work out, it's like you're tearing a piece of paper, because it's tearing those muscles, it's shredding them every time. I said, and then as you sleep and as you eat, when you eat, it kind of fuels your muscles. When you sleep, it heals your muscles. So all of this plays a part. All of it goes into it. When you drink alcohol, it dehydrates your muscle, and you're trying to put the water back in, and you can't drink enough water to fill your muscles. You have to make these different decisions. And I give them just the hard truth. and I let them make a decision on if this is something that they want to do or whatever the case may be. And they say, yes, this is something that they want to do. After I explain everything to them, then I go a little bit deeper. This is how it's going to affect your pockets. So you can't, when you start playing with people money, they're like, wait a minute, you know, so this is how it's gonna, this is what it's gonna cost you. Are you willing to go into that? Because one thing I do, I live my life and I run my business on integrity. I don't play games with people. I don't lie to them and stuff like that. If they come to me and they're saying, well, I'm doing this and I'm not losing the weight and this and that. So what are you doing? You lose or gain weight by what you're putting in and how it's burning out. You know what I'm saying? So we get an understanding on that piece. I'm very integral as it relates to that, because people are trying to change their lives. We're already having so much going on in our mental. Don't play games with me. And I remember Bishop saying, if you have a person that plays with your mind, you need to get away from those people, because when people start messing with your mind, it makes you act crazy. So that's one thing that I don't do. I'm very upfront and straightforward with people, and I let them know about the physical fitness process and how their body is going to react. And I've gone through it. So I can let them know I've gone through the point to where I've been really heavy. I've gone to the point to where I've been really, really small as well and had to gain weight. So I'm able to, you know, of course, a lot of times people are not healthy because they're super thin. Some people want to gain weight as well. So I'm able to help them do that as well. So I've been on both ends of the spectrum. So yeah, I'm just, when you ask the question, how do I do that? I'm just very straightforward. I can take them to the book. I can take them to the mat. Either way it go. I'm knowledgeable in both areas.
No, I love that. I love that. Obviously, clearly, I can see you've gone through a lot through your life, and obviously, you have built this resilience, this strength, right? I want to touch base a little bit about the mental resilience and that. And are there any things you do on a day-to-day basis besides working out and fitness that help you stay in this positive mindset and really, because I know that we all have down days. I don't care how positive you are, you're gonna have a down day. And so I think the difference between someone that's going through that has never worked on the mind versus someone that's going through that has worked on the mind and has the resilience, that is the after product of how that is going to end, right? There's a difference. And so what is it that you do yourself on a day-to-day basis besides fitness to help you stay in this positive mindset and just keep pushing through?
So first of all, I have a very, very strong and deep faith life.
Okay.
I first thing in the morning, I write in my journal, I pray, I read my Bible. I have the Bible app on my phone. And so that's one. Number two, I have a very, very strong team around me, and it's very small. And my team consists of my two sisters and my cousin. And my cousin, she's like my sister. And my other cousin, he's like a brother, and my business strategist. So those two sisters, they're actually on my team. My cousin, he's on my board. And then my business strategist, my cousin, that's like my sister, she's the one that does my wardrobe and all of that, right? But these are people that are around me that kick me in my butt when I'm down, because of course their pay and compensation and everything depends on me, right? Too. So they're like, hey, you need to get yourself together. We got to get paid. So that's number two, having a strong team around you and they know you, you know. Whereas my business strategist, she's with Elite Wealth Enterprises. Her name is Letitia DeSouza. She is my friend, but she's also my business strategist. She's the one that, hey, this is how we need to do things and, you know, kind of move things around. But my two sisters and her, they've been knowing me for years. And so they know the different things that start to happen. And I don't want to talk on the phone and, you know, things like that. And they're like, oh no, you know, my sisters, they won't just call, they'll come and knock at the door, you know, where Letitia, she's in Atlanta and she can reach out to them and say, hey, I hadn't talked to you, sister, what's going on? They are come knock at the door. So that's number two, my faith life, and then having a strong group around you. Of course, you know, fitness is right there. And then there are a wealth of just people that just impact my life, as far as reading books and listening to podcasts and listening to, you know, their different stories and stuff like that. You know, like I mentioned, David Goggins, Eric Thomas, Bishop Jakes, it's just so many people that I list. Dr. Caroline Leaks, I read her books about the brain and how you eat, and ironically, how the brain tells you from the beginning. So I look at the brain as like the stump or the root to a tree, the tree trunk, and how the roots and everything run down in the ground and it gets this nourishment and everything to the branches and the leaves and stuff like that. So your brain is that, and how it filters everything down to your extremities, your fingers, your heart, all of your organs and muscles. If you don't have a strong mind, the rest of your body is not going to be strong. It can be physically strong because, of course, you're lifting weights and things of that nature. But if you're not reading books, if you're not listening to those positive things, then it's going to affect your body holistically, because we have trillions of cells in our body, and it listens to the things that we listen to. It listens to the things that we put in it. When I say listen to it, it listens to the food, it listens to the music, it listens to the TV shows, the trillions of cells in our body, and it activates and it does the things that you tell it to do. So if you're listening to positive things, then positive things happen. If you're listening to negative things and music that's cursing you out all day and stuff, then negative things happen. It has been research and stuff has been going on that those that have cancer, it's on the unforgiveness. They dial that back to things that you haven't forgiven people for and things like that. And I remember when I started going through the divorce and stuff, I was so angry with him because I was like, this was supposed to be forever and I don't understand what happened. And I remember having to go through all of these different tests and stuff because I had this knot in my neck. I remember saying, it's not cancer. It's not cancer. I remember saying that like yesterday, and no matter what nobody said, the doctor was saying that he was going to have to cut my throat. He was going to have to take it out. They were going to have to check and make sure it was benign and this and that. And I remember telling him, no, you're not going to cut me because it's not cancer. It's unforgiveness. It's anger. It's hurt. Wow. And so I remember praying, and I always say, if you pray for someone, you can't be mad at them. You just can't do it. You can't pray for someone and be mad at them at the same time. It just will not work. And so, look, I want you to try that. If you ever get angry at somebody, I want you to try to pray for them, right? But I just started praying for him and, of course, that knot went away, that cancer, let me check and make sure it's benign or whatever. It was anger, it was frustration, It was unforgiveness, it was bitterness, and it was gone. It's gone. They're like, wait a minute, and I'm talking about it was a knot, like it was a knot, like you could visibly see it. And they're like, okay, it's not there. The doctor was like, okay, I'm not going to cut your neck to go and try to find it. I mean, it's going to leave a scar forever, and it's just not there. And it's amazing. People talk about miracles and stuff. I believe that God does miracles every day. We just don't look at it. We don't view it as that, and I believe that the body is an amazing machine. If we give it what it needs in order to heal itself, it will do just that. And one of the necessary things that has to happen is forgiveness, because we have so much hurt. People have been hurt. And, again, like I said, it's been weaved through my entire existence since I was a kid. And you have to forgive. If you don't, it's gonna affect your life. So those are the 4 things that I do that just keep me positive all the time. So
that's awesome. And obviously forgiveness too, it's not so much about the other person, it's about forgiving yourself too, right? And sometimes people forget to do that, right? Lanora, so where can people find you?
Oh, I'm on every social site at Fitness by Nori. Fitness by Nori, Nori. Fitness by Nori. And when I say every social site, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. I mean,
all over the place. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So we got to check out. So on TikTok, are you doing videos on fitness, or are you dancing? I mean, it's all over the place, right?
Yes, I do a little bit of everything on TikTok. I mean, it's only like, you can only do like 59 seconds. So
which sucks. They should give us more.
It does. What I just recently put on there was about my fitness class. I started started a fitness class March 9th. And I do fitness classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. right here in Dallas at the TBF Studios at 3711 West Camp Wisdom, 3711 West Camp Wisdom. Again, that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. and on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. I love to dance, act crazy, and we do all of that right there. So if anybody's interested in getting a good workout in, make sure you come see me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Lenora, I enjoyed this conversation. It's been super awesome. And
likewise.
I can definitely go for, forever, but I respect your time. Before I let you go, I want to see if there's anything else that you can tell our viewers or listeners. If anybody is going through any kind of challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing they can do to overcome that challenge?
So to overcome the challenge is basically you need to deal with you. You just made mention just a minute ago, forgiving yourself. The number one thing you need to understand is we all make mistakes. Everyone has a past. If there is anyone out there that tells you that they have never done anything, then understand this, they have never lived life and they are lying to you. Everybody has done something. So number one is forgive yourself. Own up to what you did. Take responsibility for your part in the mess, and say, hey, I did that. I forgive myself for that, and walk forward, move forward. The number one thing you need to understand is keep moving. Time waits for no man. Okay. You would never be 27 again. Tomorrow you will be 27 in a day. The next day you will be 27 in 2 days. You will never be 27 again. And I say 27 because I've been saying I'm 27 for years. Okay. But that's it. Time waits for no one. Keep moving.
Yeah, I love that. Keep marching forward. That's awesome.
That's it.
Thank you again for being here. Anything else before I let you go that you might want to share?
Thank you, Cesar. I truly appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And hopefully I can come back on again one day. So just let me know. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. So we have to do a follow-up on this conversation for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love your podcast. People know that they can overcome anything.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you again. So, Lanora, thank you again. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure you check her out in every social media. If you're in Texas, go see her. Go check her out every Tuesday, you said. So just come down and see her. And stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.